The focus of the genre project is the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and this term, is widely used in policy, academic, and even popular media.
Yeah.
And but actually, what do we understand by this term, entrepreneurial ecosystem? And even if we look at like the academic literature, it's only 5 years old, and Sayer referred to it as a chaotic conception. So, in addition to that, there's been very little empirical investigation done on the entrepreneurial ecosystem. So that's
Okay.
actually our starting point,
Yeah.
is this concept of the entrepreneurial ecosystem. That's our framework.
Okay.
Um, so then what we're going to do then, and what we're currently doing, is going to bust some myths, and we're going to challenge assumptions within this entrepreneurial ecosystem. And one of the main assumptions is that all entrepreneurs have equal access to resources, to support, and to opportunities. And in fact there is a significant gender bias which persists in entrepreneurship discourse and practice.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so that's really, first of all, the assumption then that we're really trying to address.
Yeah.
um, the entrepreneurial ecosystem itself is obviously a huge beast for us to tackle. How do we go about doing that? So, the way that we've decided to do that, we have taken one facet of women's entrepreneurship, which is women's technology entrepreneurship,
Okay.
and really looking to see how that relates to the norms of masculinity and femininity in the different four contexts, which I'll talk about later.
Sure.
Um, and also then two components within entrepreneurial ecosystems. The first one is the intermediary organization known as business incubators, which
Okay.
are support organization for entrepreneurs. My research in 2012 and 2015 showed that they are actually embedded with masculinity. And although they say we're open for all, women actually think that they feel that there is a lack of fit between their ascribed femininity and the masculinity of incubators. So they actually self-select out.
Hmm.
So we're going to look at ways in which incubators may actually cultivate gendered behaviors and gendered interactions. The second component of entrepreneurial ecosystems that we're going to look at is investors, and particularly venture capitalists and business angels. I think worldwide they would say it's like at least like 3 to 5% of venture-backed entrepreneurs are women.
That's not
So
a lot.
it's not a lot at all. So obviously, and the other thing with venture capital is that there's a very high correlation between venture capital backed businesses and the very high growth. So it's instrumental for growth ambitions as well. The business incubator is a support organization.
Yep.
Some people, there's also accelerators, and we've had very lively discussions whether are we focusing on accelerators, or are we focusing on business incubators.
Yes.
And business incubators, typically they can be rated to universities. We are looking at technology business incubators, those which are supporting technology-based businesses.
Okay.
Typically, a venture will go into an incubator for a 3-year period. During that period, in addition to tangible resources like shared offices and shared
Yes.
canteens and
Mhm.
car parking and all that sort of infrastructure, they also get mentoring, they get facilitated networking. So there is a program of support activities, and it's very much about supporting the early stages of small businesses.
Okay. Right.
And then with venture capital, so there's many different forms of investment. We talk about, equity investment and debt
Okay.
investment. So it's equity in terms of they take a share in the
Yes.
business. So it's specifically venture capitalists and business angels that we're looking at, those that are looking to put finance, but also strategic advice and networking
Okay.
into a venture as well. So that's our two components of the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we have framed our investigation on.
Okay.
So we have split the genre project into 7 work packages. There's 5 core, what we refer to are 5 core work packages, and then we have 2 which are cross-cutting through the 5, and they are basic. Our dissemination and communication would be one of them, and then the second one would incorporate our quality management and risk management.
Okay.
So in order to actually tackle this investigation, the first thing that we did, which was work package 1, which we have now completed, and that really was using secondary data. And that was what we would say is exploring the landscape, exploring the women's technology entrepreneurship landscape. So there's 4 countries involved in this in our consortium. So Ireland is the lead country or the lead partner. And then we have Israel, Sweden, and Norway. So our secondary data in work package 1 was very much looking at the policies for women's entrepreneurship in each of the countries, and also technology entrepreneurship as well. And then we are now in work package 2 and work package 3 simultaneously. And that's where we're actually collecting empirical data now. So we're interviewing in each country 10 female founders, 5 male founders. We're interviewing their incubator managers, and also we're interviewing investors and business angels in all 4 countries. So we're in the middle of that, and we've started analyzing that. So it's very exciting at this stage. And then once we have analyzed all of that, we hope then, obviously depending on the situation, to actually have workshops. And it'll be those workshops that we will be able to present our findings, and also hopefully tackle some of the stereotypes that are associated with technology and technology entrepreneurship. So the way we had to have these discussions even in the proposal stage, because as I said, we're looking at women's technology entrepreneurship. So, if we look at, it is well regarded now that technology is not a gender neutral field, it's male dominated. Yep. And technology is embedded with masculinity, and that's also key to be able to understand gendered power dynamics. Masculinity is considered part of or technology is considered part of the masculine script, an essential part of boys' upbringing, and that can actually manifest in later years as technology seen as men's work. So we're very much interested in trying to really tackle, and at some point maybe even dismantle, some of the stereotypes or the gendered expectations when it comes to masculinity and technology. And I think it's very interesting. Crump in 2004 was talking about the stereotype of the technology entrepreneur, and she said he's male, he's socially inadequate, and he's isolated. So that's the stereotypes that we're really trying to challenge, and that is also some of the things that we're asking. We ask when our empirical research of what do you think about when you think about the
I was going to ask you, about the discourse of the people you're.
Oh yeah, so that's what we've been asking them. When you think of a typical entrepreneur, a typical technology entrepreneur, what comes to mind? So that's what we're in the process at the moment. I've been very fortunate. We have a lovely group of people, so that's the best thing, and we've all worked.
That helps.
Yeah, and we do have lively discussions, and one of the things that we benefit from is that we've a nice gender balanced team of interdisciplinary researchers, And I'm an entrepreneurship researcher, so it's so
Yeah.
interesting to get other perspectives on gender and entrepreneurship. And it's just it's been such a learning for myself, never mind a personal learning as well as the consortium. So we started, whenever we presented or submitted the proposal, we started with 5, and we've now expanded to 11. And
Oh, okay.
with postdocs and
Yes.
researchers. And so one of the how we communicate, predominantly obviously through email, and also then we've had 3 in-person meetings. We
Okay, right.
unfortunately had one cancelled because of the coronavirus situation.
Yes, yes.
And like our entrepreneurs in our project, we too have had to pivot. So we've gone predominantly to Zoom. So we have a lot of Zoom meetings. We were doing analysis in April. We were 14 hours on Zoom.
Well,
Um,
Zoom analysis then.
to
Still counts.
replicate an in-person meeting that we were supposed to have in Norway. So it's very much business as usual, and we're really trying to keep the momentum going.
Yes. Yeah,
Do
yeah.
our interviews over, finish our interviews over Zoom, and we also have a instant messenger we use to communicate. So it's just very much trying to keep the momentum going, and we do have a lot of communication. We have different channels for communication. One of the things when we talk about findings, we have been very adamant that we sort of identified 4 groups
Mm-hmm.
that like our stakeholders and end users, and we've always been very aware of what would be outcomes for them, and also then how would we actually deliver that outcome.
Okay,
So
yes.
we have obviously our business community, which is our entrepreneurs and our investors and our incubators. Then we have our academic community, we have policy, and then we also have society, because very much this is about gender equality, and it's about gender equal opportunities for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we've looked at different ways, and we've already been disseminating in whatever way we can. So I have been in different magazines and newspapers, and so has the other PIs, talking about the project and trying to get interest generated about the project, and even through Twitter. And it has amazed me how many people have actually contacted me wanting to be involved in the project, wanting to
Okay.
support the project. And that's been really, I've been interviewed by the university newspaper, and all of those things about the society end users is incredibly important for us.
Yes.
um, so in terms of our work package 1, which we've completed, one of the deliverables from that is a report. So we're actually going to have a series of working papers, and they're
Okay.
going to be relevant for our policy end users, and also then for the business community as well.
Okay.
Um, we hope then, obviously, we are academics, so we're working towards academic journals.
Mm-hmm.
And also we're hoping to have these what we would call, they're workshops, but they're generative learning seminars, which we hope to have in the incubators themselves. And we will
Okay.
be presenting the findings of our interviews, but that's where we really hope to dismantle the stereotypical, the stereotypes of the technology entrepreneur.
Okay.
Um, so what have we found so far? So with regards our secondary sources, what we were trying to first of all ascertain was the functioning aspect of the entrepreneurial ecosystems in each country. So as a result of the desk-based research, all 4 ecosystems are well functioning in terms of technology and supporting
Yes.
innovation. There are, however, approximately between 40 to 20% in terms of our technology entrepreneurs. Only of that amount would be women
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurs. We've also looked at gender equality indexes across the 4 countries. We've also then looked at maternity and childcare support, because this is incredibly important in terms of women's engagement with
Absolutely.
entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
So work package one, which is going to be the first report in our series, is very much about laying the foundation and really scoping out the landscape for the empirical research.
Yes,
So,
okay. And I hope that your reports will be published somewhere online and easily accessible, I guess. But,
yeah, so we're getting an ISBN number, so we're going to, and we'll put them on Twitter, and we'll make them,
good.
so because it's very much, I know in Ireland, like Enterprise Ireland, which would be our government agency, they've been very interested and involved in the project. So the report is great to be able to hand that to that type of organization and say, this is the lay of the land,
Yes, I guess. Mm-hmm.
and also this is why this research is so important.
Yeah.